Hello and welcome to the W.B. Mason Coaches Report on GoHofstra.com. Pleasure to be joined today by the head coach of the Hofstra baseball team, John Russo. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Let's get right into it, Coach. Coming off a 2-2 week, Ram-centric week with a game at Fordham and then 3 games at Rhode Island. Starting off with Fordham on Wednesday, a 5-1 win. Nice to break a little losing streak there, and then use a 4-run eighth to snap a 1-1 tie. But the real story of the game was the pitching. Michael Isom makes his debut, pitches 3 solid innings, turn it over to Chris Harkey, who gives up a hit to his first batter, and then Fordham doesn't get a hit the rest of the way against Harkey goes 2 innings, and then John Schilt, Andrew Barbarino, Brian Verbitsky, and Brett Schreiber close it out the rest of the way. Can you talk about the performance of the pitching staff?
I thought they rebounded really well after such a poor weekend against Towson, and to be honest, it was Mondays and Tuesdays focus. We changed how we were going to go about things with the pitching. We made goals and started, just having performances that they had to do in game to get done, and they really answered the bell on Wednesday against a good Fordham team. I mean, Fordham coming in, I think in that game was 10-7, above 500, and predicted to finish pretty high in the A10, and 9-4, I think, at home. So a tough place to win. So it was definitely a good victory, but definitely a good time for the pitching to get going.
And then move forward to this past weekend, a 3-game series in Rhode Island, doubleheader on Saturday. David DeRico's homecoming, native of North Kingstown, Rhode Island. I'm sure he had a lot of family and friends in attendance. Goes out, he has his, his second start back from Tommy John surgery. Has his worst outing in a long time since he's been healthy. Even gives up 7 runs in 4 innings and an 11-1 loss. What did you see from David that made him so effective?
If it probably wasn't in Rhode Island, I think we would have had second thoughts about starting David on Saturday for sure. It was probably the coldest game we played of the year. I think it was a 37 game time temp, 27 feel like. It had a 25-mile-an-hour wind blowing in, and it just wasn't ideal temperatures for a guy on his 3rd comeback start for Tommy John. And to be honest, it took David an inning or 2 to even get loose. So to say he was fighting, Rhode Island in the first inning with anywhere near his best stuff wouldn't be true. But listen, he had a great accomplishment. He was able to get to 80 pitches in the game, which was a big number for us, and now we won't really have a true number for him when he starts games. So, he was able to still get his work. After he had a rough start, he was able to get loose, and then he held them at bay, in the 3rd and 4th innings. And, feel real bad for him that it wasn't like what he had planned in his head, but it was great to have all his family and friends, and for him just even play in his home state, I think, is a great accomplishment.
Now, the second game, you lose 2-0. Obviously not a good offensive day. Rhode Island, was scouting report good for Rhode Island if they kept your hitters at bay? Or
they just had really good pitching. The kid Bradstreet, who started game 1, I think, is on like 29 scoreless. They went down to Winthrop and held them to 3 runs the previous weekend. They're just really rolling right now with pitching. And the kid Fernie that started game 2 shut us out. Has like a 2-something ERA with starts against Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Florida State, Notre Dame underneath his belt. So it wasn't like a cupcake time that he's got that ERA. And he just really went at us. The one thing I thought our hitters did differently than what their hitters did is they let the cold temperatures affect them. And I think they really gave in a little bit mentally to the effects of the temperature, and it just gave away really poor at bats. And we never really competed at any given time on Saturday offensively at all. But man, you got to really tip your cap to Joe Berg. I'm not sure what it was. 4 hits. I think 3 were infield hits, and really dominated. And then Brian came in the 7th with the bases loaded against arguably their hottest hitter, LaBelle, and struck him out, and then had a scoreless 8th. And so they really set the tone, obviously, I think, for the next day.
Right, it was a strong start from Joe Berg. Like you said, 4 hits, and both runs were unearned. So he's been pitching well as of late. Now we move to Sunday, the final game of the series. You get a 3-1 win, a 3-run 4th inning. A nice little rally. Kenny Jackson starts off with a double, steals a base. Matt Reistetter drives in a run. Score what turns out to be the winning run on a ground played for an error, and then TJ Ersom gets an RBI. So nice to see your offense, after struggling so much on Saturday, come back and put together at least, a crooked number up in that inning.
It was, it was nice to catch a break. Their shortstop had played great the whole weekend and got pretty much a tailor-made double play ball with the bases loaded and booted it, which allowed us to get, I believe, the second run of the inning, and which ended up being the winning run. And we were due to catch some breaks. We've had a lot of breaks go against us. Something disappointing in that was, I don't know if we got a hit after that inning, and offensively we're just really struggling right now, and we have to take the next few days here getting ready for New York Tech and George Mason to figure out stuff for the offense, like we did the pitching staff last week. It looked like we got the pitching staff righted in 3 of the 4 games, and we need to get the offense going.
You mentioned the pitching. Dave Josh rebounded from a bad start against Towson, gave you 5 1/3, strong inning, struck out 8 batters. What kind of stuff did he have yesterday?
David always has pretty good stuff. It's just whether it's going to be in the strike zone or not. And he starts with a hits batsman, and then a single, and then a walk, and then a sacrifice fly, and we're thinking, here goes David Josh again. But to his credit, he really manned up on the game and took control from thereafter. And to be honest, until I took him out in the 6th inning, he really dominated, had great stuff, and it was the David Josh that we thought we were getting all along. And we've seen David do that in some spots this year at Cal Bakersfield and an outing in Oklahoma, but it hasn't been enough. And if we can get that type of David Josh, every weekend, we're just going to be really tough to handle with the rotation of DeRico, Berg, and Josh.
And then you're able to shorten up the bullpen with using Brett Schreiber for the last 3 2/3. He picked up his first save of the season, 3 hits, and obviously scoreless baseball. So another guy who's rebounded, a tough Towson series for the whole staff. And it seems like you said, they've turned it around a bit.
Super proud of them. They could have put their heads down and gotten buried this week, but we really took it as a time to figure out things and set up goals. And I had 6 big goals for them, and on Wednesday they hit it, every goal without missing anything. And on this whole weekend, I think they only missed on 9 things or whatever. They just had an outstanding and great for Brett to rebound, like you said, from the Towson series. He had a rough Towson series, but he was completely dominant yesterday for 3 1/3 innings. He never lost focus, and it was just really, really good. And that's been the guy all except for one weekend all year that we've seen. So hopefully Towson was just a misnomer.
Now, you mentioned dominant Brian Probisky, 2 1/3 innings on the weekend. He had a few walks and a hit batter, but of the 7 outs he recorded, all 7 were strikeouts. Another guy who had a tough game against Towson. How has he turned it around this past week?
I think the big thing with Brian's confidence. When he's confident, he has as good a stuff as anybody in the country. And I think Fordham he just took a deep breath and let it go, and got a strikeout in his first at bat. And then Brian is high and low a lot of times, and we got to try to keep him a little consistent. But when he's high, in his confidence, he's as good as anybody in the country. And Brian has great stuff. I didn't bring him into an easy spot with the bases loaded and 2 outs against their best hitter. But listen, that's a spot he has to win for us, and he did. And very proud of him. And it was great to see him rebound.
All right, turning our attention to the week ahead. You got New York Institute of Technology coming here on Wednesday for a 3 p.m. game, and then a big conference series this weekend against George Mason. Starting with the Bears, a team that Hofstra's handled pretty easily the last few years. What are you looking for on Wednesday?
I've been following New York Tech. They have a new coach and a different style, and they've really played well this weekend. They lost 2 close games to Columbia and another close game, I think, to Navy, and they're playing real well of late. And midweek game, you don't know what you're going to get, and pitching-wise and inspired baseball. But New York Tech always had a lot of energy. George Mason, they beat us 2 or 3 last year. They're coming in here with momentum from winning this weekend. And Bobby Brown Club's always been, Billy Brown. He's always been really well coached, and they have a lot of talent. They have good pitching. Their offense is a lot of new players, guys we didn't see from last year. So it'll definitely be a tough matchup. It's definitely a matchup we have to go in looking to win 2 of 3 this weekend.
All right, with the team 0-6, my next question: how important is it this series to get back on track?
have to. I mean, at some point we have to start winning games, and you know, I know we've blown 2 in conference that were wins, and you know, I think once we can get that first one underneath the belt, it'll just break the ice, and then hopefully get a couple more. And you know, we'll go with the rotation of DeRico and Berg and Jesh this weekend, and you know, we really need a big, you know, rebound outing from David to get us started on Friday, and you know, try to do everything we can to win Friday, and then take them one at a time from here on out. But you know, we need to start piling up some wins at some point.
All right, Hofstra versus New York Tech on Wednesday at University Field, and then this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday versus George Mason. And you've been watching the WB Mason Coach Report on GoHofstra.com. Thanks for joining us.